February 4th. I can't even believe that it's February 4th, but welcome. We're going to wait as people get the alert that we go live, and my good friend Rachel is in the green room. She'll be here in just a minute, and let's just make sure that everything's live before we introduce Rachel. And make sure it's working, because right now I don't have an alert. Let's give it a there it is. There it is, Rachel. We are live. Let me share this and tag you live with Cantor Rachel Goldman. Share now. Okay, we're live there. Let's see. Normally people are hopping on, but maybe I'll still introduce Rachel, and we'll just wait for people to pop on, or they won't come on, and we'll just talk to each other because we like talking to each other. Let me make sure that we are live on YouTube. All right. And Rachel, I can play this fun thing, and then I'll let us both in. Hold on a second. It goes like this. Are you ready? Here's our countdown. Oh, people are here. So I'm going to do a little countdown, and then we'll start. Welcome! Wasn't that so fancy and exciting?
I thought we were just going to be like,
look, and in that countdown, 10 people logged on, so it worked. Welcome, everybody. Please say hi in the chat. I see Jay, I see Raymond, I see Sis. So, you know, we are good to go. Raymond wrote me that he was very excited.
Hi, I still love him. I know, I need to call him back.
Uh-oh. Caught red-handed. Well, welcome everybody. It's so crazy to be almost a year into. I hate saying the quarantine. Good morning of Valerie. It is crazy. I am live from my bedroom because my parents are in town, and so I get banished to my bedroom to lead Think About It Thursdays here. So you can see fun things like my Peloton over there. But Rachel and I were both really happy to be a part of this awesome Shabbat Shirah this past Friday night, but our story does not start or end there. So it goes back to 2010 when I enrolled in the Academy for Jewish Religion, actually in 2009-ish, 2010, my cantorial mentor and my she was my voice coach since I was 12, Cantor Anchor, who I will have to have on, said to me, now would be a good time to start cantorial school. This was December 2010. She said, don't wait until next September. There's an awesome group of, it happened to be girls. Actually, it wasn't all girls because Kyle's, but there's an awesome group of people your age. And I think that you should just jump in and you'll catch up for the trimester that you missed. And I was like, okay. And I started in January, and I met Rachel and Michelle Stone and my best friend Jessica and Sarah Fortman, Zerbi Berda, and like just so many of lifelong friends. But I didn't know Rachel. We grew up, obviously both. Not obviously. Are you still there? It looks like you might have frozen.
I'm here.
There. You're there. You were just like a statue. So Rachel, tell us, where did you grow up? What temple did you grow up at? And just like a little history of who you are.
Okay, so you were saying that Cantor Anchor was your teacher since you were 12. I grew up in the Valley, so I grew up in Northridge, and I was at Ahavat Shalom. And my cantor was Cantor Patty Linsky, who's like best friends with Cantor Anchor. So there's that connection already. So I've known Cantor Patty Linsky. She did my bat mitzvah. I've known her since she was pregnant with her daughter, who's now How old is Kayla now?
19, 20.
She was pregnant with Kayla at my bar mitzvah. So I grew up in the Valley.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I grew up at the Reformed congregation in the North Valley in Northridge. So it's called Ahavat Shalom. But there's our connection. Is I think actually, so there was a concert when I was 15 or 14 at my congregation, and I'm pretty sure that the cantors were Cantor Patty Linsky, my cantor Sam Radwine, who is now my emeritus at the congregation that I'm at right now, and Cantor Preen Anchor, and I think maybe Cantor Evan Kent. Like that was
my gosh.
That was the concert when I was 15. So.
Rachel, we have to say hi to Josh Goldberg. He said,
"Hi, Josh. We love Josh.
Hi, Josh." And Josh, who we also pulled into AJR. So yay.
Okay. AJR family.
All right. So grew up in Northridge, basically, area.
Valley girl.
Yeah. And you studied music starting when?
I mean, I don't think I ever didn't study music. I look at my nephew just turned 1. I know that we both love being super canty aunties. My nephew just turned 1 and he just got this piano. My parents got him this piano. It's like this big, but it's got real keys on it and he just loves pounding on it. I mean, like I feel like if that counts as studying music, then I don't know when I wasn't studying music. I was, I was like, my mom tells the story all the time that I made her go take me to see The Little Mermaid for like the 4th time in theaters. And I just stood on a chair in the theater and sang the entire thing from the beginning to end. So I guess that I was like studying Disney musicals since I studied music probably since before I could say that I was studying music.
And but you got involved in the Los Angeles Children's Chorus.
Los Angeles Children's Chorus.
Yeah, when was that?
I started in LACC when I was 10. And like within being in LAC, when I was in LACC for about a year, I got pulled for my first opera at the Los Angeles Opera, which was kind of crazy. Hi, Lori Akers. We have such a fun chat.
Hi, Lori. I know. We're friends on here.
This is a great chat.
So, and what I think, not to say that I don't have musical skills, but the difference between Rachel and I is she really got a really good foundation in music theory and sight reading. And when I was growing up, that just was not in, my parents were not musical at all. And it was like, oh, just go do community Roxbury Park community shows. And we didn't really have any strict training, which caused our ears to have to do a lot of learning. But okay. So in the meanwhile, so you're doing Los Angeles Children's.
Oh, I have a Los Angeles Children's Chorus Cantor Small World story if you want to hear it.
I definitely want to hear it.
You definitely. Okay. I remember, so like Los Angeles Children's Chorus makes us into like sight reading little monsters. We have theory from the age of 10 and you're solfeging stuff out in rehearsals by the time you're 13. It's serious stuff. And I remember I was in a coaching session. Maybe you were there, maybe you weren't, but it was Perrine was there, and then Bill Schmidt was playing piano for me. And he said to me, where'd you get your sight reading training? And I said, oh, I was in LACC. And he had been playing organ for the Los Angeles Children's Chorus, like at that very moment. And he asked me if I know somebody who was literally my best friend in Los Angeles Children's Chorus growing up. And we had back-to-back auditions for USC for vocal. This friend of mine, and I found out that Bill was playing her audition for USC, and I had probably seen Bill and been in the same room as Bill.
So funny.
Decades before I was in that coaching session in Cantorial School.
And Bill Schmidt, we are blessed that he's one. We have 2 main accompanists, but you see Bill all the time if you watch our services. Well, you don't always see him, but you hear him because he's socially distanced way off camera. But he actually played the piano for the Adonai Sefatai this past week, and so yeah, he's fantastic. Okay, so then how did your world of music grow into, were you singing at Temple as a kid, and then how did it lead towards the cantorate? So
when I was in LACC, I was kind of so in LACC that I think that the rabbi sat my mother down and said, if she keeps on going to rehearsals and is late for Hebrew school, then she's not going to have her bat mitzvah. I won't say who that rabbi was, but
Yeah.
So that was like LAC. My musical training was actually kind of like in direct conflict with my Jewish education at one point. And I was in a family where like there was no like one is more important than the other. Like they're both equally important, and like you're gonna have a bat mitzvah no matter what. And that was, I had a very interesting bat mitzvah year anyways. I see everybody now, and we have a lot of kids that are pushing their b'nai mitzvahs. And some people are saying, oh, what are we going to do? Our kid's going to be, already in high school and they have their bat mitzvah. And that was me. Like I was in 9th grade when I had my bat mitzvah. I had to have it a little later. So I just grew up in that. We didn't have any sort of pandemic that caused that. I just had a brother who was born 14 months after me. And I think my parents just decided that they didn't want to invite the entire family to 2 events 14 months apart. So we had a b'nai mitzvah. And so I had to wait for my brother to turn 13. So I was in high school when I actually had my bat mitzvah. But I was raised in a family where we just made it work, made Judaism and whatever else you wanted to do work at the same time. And so I was, enrolled in a Catholic school, singing Kyrie eleison in Los Angeles Children's Chorus, and at the same time studying for my bat mitzvah. And I think that it all started before. Where would I say? It was the fact that they let me use a Los Angeles Children's Chorus song that I was singing in choir on the Bima. They let us use an Al Shlosha Devarim. That was kind of where everything merged together. And I don't remember what I wore to my bat mitzvah.
It would be funny to do a Cantor's gathering where we show our b'nai mitzvah outfits. I will say my parents just came in town and brought each of the 5 kids a giant box. They took apart 40 photo albums and gave us pictures. I probably have 1,000 pictures in a box to look through. So I have b'nai mitzvah pictures for mine.
I do remember what I wore. I wore something black, and it was like the 90s, and it was back the first time that the spaghetti tanks were in time. Like they were in style. They're all in. Everything's back now. Everything that I had as a bat mitzvah is completely in style again. It freaks me out. I had to have my spaghetti strap tank top, but of course I couldn't wear that on the Bima, and so I had to get like another thing to wear over it, and it was all black, and it was kind of basic. But my hair was extra. My hair was real ringlets. Shirley Temple. I don't know what made me think that was
the era, I think, because I remember like now girls just go get like a beautiful blowout and they look like Jennifer Aniston or something like that. But back in the day, it was like you would go and get like every curl, and my hair was like this.
Yeah, like all you need to see the barrels of the curling iron still on your hair in order for it to look cool then.
Exactly. Okay, so then you went to college. You worked a bit before you'd become while you were in school at Beit Shuva as cantor, and then ultimately you went to Congregation Ner Tamida of the South Bay, where now you've been for
5. I think I'm in my 5th year, my 4th or my 5th year.
Time flies.
I mean, it's like you stick COVID in the middle of it, and like COVID could be it could be a decade at this point.
I mean, the interesting thing to know about both Rachel and I, and thinking of some of my closest friends like Kyle Kotler, Doug Kotler's son, or Jessica Hutchings, all of us grew up in Reform synagogues, but all of us had connections to Los Angeles, and for each of us had different reasons of why we couldn't pick up and go to Israel for a year and go to Hebrew Union College. And so the opportunity to go to the Academy for Jewish Religion of California here was really a blessing. I mean, truly life-changing. I look at our lives today and I'm like, what would we have done? Like, I don't think I necessarily would have been a cantor because I had been on tour and didn't have the flexibility. Maybe not flexibility. I was too exhausted to go pick up and move to New York again. But tell me about what brought you to AJR.
What brought me to AJR? I wanted to go to cantorial school. Like I knew I wanted to go to cantorial school. I'd started bachelor's at UC Santa Barbara, and then I was very, very close to graduation. I was like, I don't think I want to do what I'm doing. I was an Italian studies major. I had stopped singing. I took some time off, and then before finishing undergraduate, before going back to undergraduate and saying like, okay, I know what I want to do, and it's not the major I was enrolled in at UC Santa Barbara. I was like, I want to be in cantorial school. And I'm like, I can either finish my bachelor's in Italian studies, which I took about a year off and I had forgotten a lot of Italian, could relearn an entire foreign language to finish this bachelor's that I didn't want, or I could transfer to a school that would at least help me get a bachelor's in something that I want, which would take me longer to get the bachelor's, by the way.
Right.
But I would learn a lot more towards the graduate degree that I wanted. So I transferred to AJU and finished my bachelor's at AJU, and it took me forever to finish my bachelor's. But I got a bachelor's in Jewish studies from American Jewish University, and then I applied to cantorial school. And by the time I showed up to cantorial school, I had all these really, really specific undergraduate credits from all the people that wrote like our textbooks in cantorial school. So I had already like kind of stopped school, gone back. I'm like, I want to go to cantorial school. I think I picked AJR. I was like, I probably put on my application, like, I really want to come here. Like, it's either this or I'm not doing anything.
Okay, so then I actually remember the day I walked into the UCLA Hillel, and Perrine was like, this is Rachel and Michelle. And I was like, okay, here we go. But one of my earliest like memories of using Rachel, and that this is what I kind of want to talk to. We talked about in the email that went out to my congregation, in the Facebook message, we talked about nerding out over cantorial things. Because in so many ways, we spend our time, creating musical services and working on repertoire in the same way that almost someone in the theater, in terms of like creating songs that are going to be authentically related to prayer or uplifting us with the meaning of the prayer. But what you don't see behind the scenes is sort of our education in things like nusach, which is traditional davening melodies, and Torah trope. There's kind of things like that we now, maybe people take for granted, that, most of us, I think all of us can pick up a piece of Torah and chant it. So Rachel was already in awesome Torah laner. And I was taking Torah laning 101, we could just call it. And it wasn't so intuitive to me to begin with. Like I needed the patterns. And I remember going to Rachel's apartment, and like within 1 hour, I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. And actually a Facebook memory came up the other day where it was you saying nothing's better than teaching Lizzie Torah trope. And, it was like over dinner or whatever. So tell me about how you got so into Torah trope. Maybe tell people a little bit more about what it is, but also your thesis was on it too. How could we forget? So give us a little bit of how your biggest nerdiness, cantoressness, nerdiness.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to bare my nerdy soul right now.
Exactly.
I remember learning trope. I don't know why. I don't like, this is like, how do you become a cantor? You have to become a cantor if this is part of you. Like I wanted, as a birthday present, I wanted trope trainer. Like I literally wanted trope trainer as a birthday present. I don't know why. I don't know what made me think that I wanted to learn. I think I had to chant Torah for something, and I had to learn. I was like, the last time I learned, I was in high school, and I had to get a tutor, and it's like, I just want to learn this. I really, really want to learn this. I don't know why. I don't know what drew me to it. Maybe it was, I love color coding. I'm just one of those people that has like 1,000 colors of everything.
Oh, I might be able, while you're talking, to pull up a color coding to explain what it is. Wait, give people just like a 2-sentence, what the heck Torah trope is.
Okay, so Torah trope is, this is how I like to explain it. Have you ever on Facebook and you see somebody post a comment and you really wish that other people knew that it was sarcastic? Like people are reacting and it's not really, like, you wish that there was
Cantor Klieger, this is so cantorial nerdy. I know,
Oh
we admit it. We gave a disclaimer. We gave a disclaimer that we're moving from our coolness to our nerdiness. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Torah trope is there's symbols that are applied to every single word in the Torah and all of our other sacred texts as well, Haftarah, Megillah. So there's an actual symbol that's assigned, just like vowels, to each one of these words that tells you how important the word is, and it's like a musical punctuation. It tells you where the sentence is over.
I got it. Keep talking. I'm gonna share a screen.
Oh, okay. You got the color coding. Okay.
I did.
So hold on, because if you use a different color coding than I use, then we're in trouble.
I learned from the best, so I hope here it is.
Is it blue? Yes, it's blue. So every time you see the blue, that is the mini melody. The blue represents so there are markings underneath the words in blue that all add up to this one mini melody that lets you know that's the end of the sentence. So it'll let you know where words start and stop. And I don't know, it's like if you're going to say something to somebody halfway across the room, how you phrase the sentence is going to make it's going to affect how somebody hears it. So if I say, "Hey, Lizzie, while you're at the store, don't forget to grab me some milk and potatoes." And if I had made sure to not phrase certain things like milk and potatoes and while you're at the store, if I had not phrased things together and you're halfway across the room, you could have heard, I don't know, while I'm at the what? What about potatoes? I mean, like, it's hard to not hear what I'm talking about. So that's what trope does. It gives every single one of these really important words in our sacred text the correct stressor, the correct intonation, so that the person on the other side of the room can hear it correctly.
I love that we're attracting all the Cantors today. Yes,
I know. Rest in peace, Trope Trainer.
I know. So we should say that it's very upsetting because Trope Trainer died. I mean, the person who created Trope Trainer died, and we have been on a constant. It's the number one discussion on the cantorial boards of how to get Trope Trainer, because Trope Trainer allows you to actually listen to phrases. But one thing that I don't know if you emphasize a lot is not only does trope help put the right emphasis on words, but these are like phrases. So this is ve'ahavta. So you could, the way I use it is to tell kids, like, pause the recording, and I tell them after yellow. So ve'ahavta, pause, sing it 10 times, right? Then Ed Adonai Elohecha, which whatever. So each color that you see represents a musical phrase. It would be like one line of a song, or where you should start and stop breathing is another way to put it. Because otherwise, when you're learning like trope, even as like a kid, for your bar bat mitzvah, you don't know where to start and where to stop. So this is the love of Rachel's life, besides her fiance. We'll get to that in a minute. Is Torah trope. So anything. So Rachel actually did her entire thesis about Torah trope. Tell us what the heck you could write about 50 pages of Torah trope.
Oh, girl, that was like 78 pages.
Oh. Okay, 78 pages. I forgot. David Reinwald, I use yellow for my etnachta. Okay.
Oh no, David. Cantor is pink for etnachta. Pink, blue, yellow is ketone. This is what I was saying. I was trying to, there's only 4 shallots in the entire thing.
Oh gosh. Oh, now we're going to start boring. Well, whatever. It's all Cantors on right now. So
okay. So here's the thing. If you are using some other Cantor's color coding system and you already think that blue is the end of the sentence, and then somebody else's color coding system, blue is not the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
You're screwed. Like that's a problem.
Yeah, I use Rachel Goldman's colors. I have my whole life. Actually, they are the same as Jay Freilich, who taught me, Cantor Jay Freilich, who was a wonderful trope teacher. But I use actually, Rachel, you had the same colors as him, I believe. So,
and I can't say that they're just my colors, because the blue and the yellow and the pink are the only 3 defaults on Trope Trainer.
Oh,
and pink, blue, and yellow.
But you can change the colors on Trope Trainer too.
Pink, blue, and yellow are the.
Actually, I should say you can assign a blue.
but the default was always pink is at ta, blue is so pasuk, and yellow is katon. I remember that.
Oh gosh, we're getting into an argument now because Dan Singer had to come in and say green means go, yellow means slow, red means stop.
That's true too. Those are different things. So
red can be the final.
Dan Singer is talking. I get this. There are two different colors in Trope Trainer. You can color in the words based on the trope groups, or you can color in the trope markings themselves. And that was the green. That's true, because I still use this. I went and I printed to PDF a tremendous amount of Trope Trainer things. Now I have all the moth tears. So I use this with my kids, with all of my B'nai Mitzvah kids. So the trope markings themselves are also colored so that all the helper tropes are green. So you just sing through them like a stop sign. You can't make yellow into a trope marking because it's just too light. So it's orange. You pause at the orange, and then you fully stop at the red one. So dancing is not incorrect.
I know nobody's incorrect, actually. I think everyone has fair points here, and you can't do it wrong. But Rachel, how did you go deeper into this concept, like than what we're talking? You know, what significance did you kind of dig into in your thesis?
So I'm a colorful person. I like to color things in with words, and I was fascinated that like our tradition had the original sarcasm font, kind of like our tradition went so in depth for every single word that it came up with like a musical form of punctuation. And I haven't really, like, the only thing that I can think of musical punctuation is music nowadays. Like, we work the punctuation into it, and as cantors we go through the text and we figure out where to start and stop things, where to phrase things together with nusach. Like, we do that ourselves, but the words of the Torah thousands of years ago had these little markings to specify the tone of each of the words. And I just thought that was incredibly cool. I thought that was really, really interesting. And I mean, it was cool enough that I could find 75 pages to write about. I mean, like,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
And then there's also, I wrote a lot of my thesis on, first I went and like recodified all the stuff that we already have. And then there's a section of our text. There's like Psalms and Proverbs and Job. Those three books, if you look at the trope markings on that, they're nothing like the other trope markings. Like, it looks like somebody took a dartboard and wrote trope markings on it, and like took a dart and threw it and like, okay, we're going to use this trope marking for this word. It doesn't make any sense compared to everything else that you want to know. So I tried to look at those three books and make a little bit of sense of it and figure out if there was a melody for it.
And singers.
Back in my day, we didn't learn colors in cantorial school, and we had to walk. I had to walk. I never had to walk uphill to school both ways in snow because we grew up in Southern California, Dan. So like, that has nothing to do with.
Exactly. When people write funny comments, I'm just going to purposely post them right under us. I'm just going to like,
we have our own back in my day stories now, because now I can tell I think it's funny that I have back in my day stories that I tell to my own B'nai Mitzvah students, but I get to say, you know what, back in my day, we didn't have email. Back in my day, we didn't have Zoom or Dropbox. Back in my day, we had a cassette tape player.
Well, I actually use this as like, you know, I recently redid our entire B'nai Mitzvah Shachrit morning packet. Like the kids were using Sidurim, whatever. And so now when they say I lost my papers, I'm like, I like warn them ahead of time. Like, that answer is never going to be acceptable because it's a Google Doc link. They all use it for school. And I'm like, you know, like, they all have my text, myself. Anyways. All right. So that was trope. Nusach is a whole other world. So you want to talk about your love for some of that stuff?
Sure. Okay. Nusach is a musical calendar that you apply to the prayer book text.
Ooh, I like that.
Depending on how you hear something chanted in the prayer book, like take a Chatzi Kaddish. If I hear a Chatzi Kaddish chanted in a certain way, I know what time of day it is. I know what day of the week it is. I know whether or not it's a holiday. I know if that holiday is Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah.
So let's give an example. Like, most people know Yikadal v'Yikadash Shemei Rabbah.
Right.
But what people don't really understand is that is not the way you're supposed to sing it, like on a Saturday morning, for example. So we could give like a couple of examples.
You have to like set yourself. Okay,
yeah, so it's hard to go in and out. I mean, I can
Right.
go to
It's so hard to go in and out. Like,
okay, we'll quiz each other. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. So I just did, what was mine? Yeah, but, and I think it's
you can use it for Musaf. That's Shabbat though. It's like Musaf Shabbat.
But not Shabbat morning.
No, the Shabbat Shacharit is different.
Yes, which I'll do in a second. But first, why don't you sing the very beginning of a high holiday Chatzi Kaddish?
Oh my God, I have Shlosh Regalim stuck in my head. Yeah, Yikada, or there's several. There's Yikada, Yikada, or if it's Nila, Yikada, Yikada, Shemei Rabbah.
Wow, could we sing together? That was weird.
Wait, can we do this?
Did the technology all of a sudden tell us in the chat if we can actually sing together over this? I can't believe this. Let's try it. Are you ready? Let's do the I'm hungry, I'm tired. Are you ready?
And I really need a burger.
Okay, let's sing that. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
I'm tired. I'm hungry. No, not quite. But
it did work that one time.
For one note.
For one. Okay, so that's like that I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm really hungry, whatever. That's your Ne'ilah, like towards the end of the hot, yes, the
Hasid.
That's a little bit different. That's a piece of repertoire, really. I mean, that's a musical composition. But a Saturday morning would be like, I always have to do the end of.
Yeah, I have to go to like bar.
I have to go like the end of. No, I'm doing weekday now.
Weekday, and I have
oh gosh, hold on. Where's someone who stepped in?
That's Shlosh Regalim.
Oh man. Okay, hold on.
And then there's different versions, because like a lot of us use altar. We use whoever decided to write down that stuff, and I use
Magda. Yes, Magda. Yes,
I use Erstein. A lot now, which is I think we have a congregant whose uncle was Carl Erstein, and I heard a story that I heard
you had to start using it there at that.
No, I actually started using it. This must have been like 7 years ago. I was filling in for Cantor Marcus Feldman at Sinai, and they use Erstein over there. And that was like the last Nusach that I had learned specifically. So like that was what was stuck in my head. I love improvising too. Like improvising is the most fun in Nusach.
I love how, oh my gosh, so many of my favorite, Amy Robinson Cat.
This is such a great people are coming on. We're all just here to nerd out over Cantor.
Amy just did the funniest video with her husband. Everybody should go watch it.
It was awesome.
It was so fun.
Started busting up laughing in the middle of it.
And actually, Amy, also an amazing davener, a great person to work with on Nusach and everything, all things like that. Yes, this is like a Cantor.
Amazing.
I'll have to do one day and have I think I can have up to 9 people on the screen.
Oh anyway, my God, I love it.
Rachel, we've nerded out. What else? Let's just just to go back a little. When we were in cantorial school, there are different Nusach classes you take. So you take both a Shabbat Nusach class and a Shabbat contemporary repertoire class. You take a High Holidays Nusach class and a High Holidays repertoire. Actually, we don't take
ours were combined for Shabbat.
Shalosh Regalim class, Nusach, and then you don't have a repertoire class for that. That was kind of combined.
Right, weekday and Shalosh Regalim were combined, and
no, weekday we took our first year with Nate.
Right, that was combined. There was no weekday repertoire. There's no weekday.
Right. No. Yeah, exactly. That's true. But then our 5th year, well, my 4th year, your 5th year, we took.
I never had a 5th year.
Well, our 1 year we took improvisation with Cantor Lamb.
Yes.
And but really what's hard about something like that is you have to know the modes and the pieces well enough to improvise.
Well, it's not really improvisation though. It's like you memorize a good 40 or 50 good runs and you just kind of pick them here and there. And you're like, oh, I feel like using this pretty run today. And you have like, you file it away. You're like, I have like 15 or 20 Fragish runs, or I have 15 or 20 minor runs. And you just kind of pick one here or one there. And we learn them through all these different pieces of music.
Right. And that would give you the ability, like all of a sudden you're standing on the bema. This actually happened to me. I'm like, thank gosh, I'm finally getting better, but you're standing there and you realize, oh my gosh, I have to chant Geshem today. This happened to me last year. And I in the past, like I'd be nervous about it. I'd always be preparing it because things that you chant once a year, it takes a lot of years for you just to feel like, oh, I remember this. And so every time you'll like this, I always think 3 blind mice. I go 3 blind mice, Geshem, 3 blind mice. Okay, so what does that mean? No. That's the beginning of
Geshem.
So like there's a lot of things like that where you have to just switch.
I think I have it in this one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I remember going through one of the cottages, and I was color coding all the mini melodies for that. And I looked at it like 4 years later. I was like, oh, I don't even know what these colors mean anymore, but I know this should sound like this, and this should sound like this. And you have the melodies in your head by then. You're just like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, and for the congregants who are on here, or congregants who are watching later, you might say, like, what's the point? Like, I'm never going to notice what that Geshem, by the way, Geshem is our prayer for rain. Like, why do you even do it, right? And I remember Rabbi Laura Geller, our Rabbi Emerita, and many of my mentors around me have said, like, they're never going to hear it unless you do it at temple. Right. And that's the only way to carry the tradition on. And as much as both Rachel and I use every contemporary melody out there these days, it's a fact of life that, like, if we want to carry on some of the nostalgia, we have to use the nusach. In my case, I use it more on Saturday mornings and in the high holidays. Rachel works at a conservative synagogue where I think you use it a lot, right?
All the time. Yeah, I use it. I kind of, because I grew up Reform and I didn't have like a true appreciation for Nusach, because the Reform movement puts its musical emphasis on more contemporary stuff now, which is understandable. I just didn't grow up with that, and when you're presented with it every single week, and that's like your job is all you have with you is this, like you don't have sheet music, you don't have an accompanist, you just have your voice and the prayer book. Do you remember The Giver? Do you remember the book The Giver? Where like the giver's whole responsibility was to remember the past and like use that information to steer the community. Like that's what I feel like a cantor's job is. Like their job is to remember these melodies and utilize them when we're supposed to. And whether or not you agree that there's a point to doing that, like that is our point. Like our point is to remember and pass it on to the next generation. It seems so strange and niche and specific and ancient. But like I feel like sometimes cantors are the givers. Like it's our job to maintain that knowledge and pass it on to the next generations. And like some people don't even know what the point is, but it's kind of our job to guard knowing what the point is and passing it on, if that makes sense.
I really, really like that. And I also, yes, I agree with Yona. Yeah. Well said, Rachel. And as Yona, as my cantor since childhood, if I didn't take it seriously Yona took it seriously to pass on everything he grew up with, Baruch Kohan and everything like that. And if I hadn't learned it from Yona, then I wouldn't be doing it myself and feel a sense of obligation to continue, to do a full Hallel or stuff like that a lot of Reformed synagogues don't do anymore. What I also think is interesting is it's not just about making sure that seminaries teach it, because seminaries can teach it, and then you can go to a synagogue and they can have a cantor who never put the emphasis on some of these traditional melodies. And so then it's very hard to be like, well, I need to do this traditional nusach or this. I mean, I'm using Hallel as a good example because now, you know, our whole congregation can sing all of Hallel when we do it.
And that's because of you, probably.
Well, and Yona before me. So
and Yona, yeah.
Yeah, like you end up doing it 6, 7, 6. It depends on the year. Sometimes, however often it falls on Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, let's say, or a festival falls on Shabbat, and at festival services. So I would say probably closer to 5 times 7. I don't know. It depends on the year. But the point is, you know, that's why our congregants don't go, what is this, when you get to Hallel. So yeah, I would say to like the next generation of cantors that or actually to congregations too, like encourage the tradition of Nusach, because it's going to be gone if not.
I think that we want to have our kids, our students in 10 years feel comfortable enough to walk into any synagogue wherever they are and know that like at least they're going to hear one thing that feels familiar and feels at home. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know, you know that you can walk into a Starbucks and you can get your coffee no matter where you are in the world. Like whatever your crazy Starbucks order is, you're going to feel at home in any Starbucks. Like I want our kids to feel like there's a musical, soulful Starbucks in every single synagogue, because, you know, at least they know a couple of things are going to be the same.
I like Yona said, Hallel took a while for people to know, but to your point, we kept doing it, and they finally learned it. Yeah, and I think also, and it's harder when they're virtual, but when people are together, even if they don't know it, if they look around and they're like, oh, wow, this must be an important part of this community because everybody around me seems to know it. So I love that. And yeah. Okay, so we've talked Torah trope and your love of that. And we should say that you lane, I don't know, 7 aliyot every. How much are you having to?
I mean, I since we've been at COVID, I haven't been in the same room as a Torah scroll in you know, because we don't do there's no point of doing the full Kriya or the full triennial if we don't have a Torah scroll in front of us. So we read like a little selection. It's a completely simulated Torah reading technically because we're not in the same room. Right. But yeah, I was reading the triennial every single week for a few years.
And for those who don't know what the triennial is, it's a division that essentially it allows you to read the entire Torah after 3 years. So it's like the first third of each Torah portion, the second third, the third third. So that, yeah, every temple is a little bit different on what tradition they follow there. But
it's, I mean, some people don't realize that some Torah portions are longer than others. And like you really, when you get to Pinchas, which is like 200 verses in one Torah portion, you're really happy that you only have to read like a third of that, which is still longer than some full Torah portions are.
Right. So next year, when some of the ones that are usually doubled up are not, you're going to be very happy. Like Bahar Bahukotai or something. Next year, they're separate. Or Vayakel, and those Torah portions happen to be shorter. I mean, it's all.
Yeah, I love a leap year.
The ones that are often paired together are shorter to begin with. So then, if you land on a year where they're not smushed together, you have a little bit of an easier, less laborious year. Okay, so we talked Nusach, we talked Torah trope, but let's talk about contemporary music. Let's see, let's talk about Shul Sisters. Okay, tell everybody what Shul Sisters is.
So Shul Sisters is, we haven't actually debuted yet. We have a date that we're gonna do our debut concert. We haven't announced it yet, unless one of my 2 sisters text me now and said you can let us know. So Shul Sisters is I guess I'm gonna say like it's a across the country collaboration. It's a collaborative project with 3 cantors, or 2 cantors and one cantorial, one Sika candidate. Lori Akers is not a cantor yet. She's in the Sika program, so she is cantorial intern, I think is the official title for her. So Lori Akers is in Chicago. Cantor Rachel Brook is at Park Avenue Synagogue in Manhattan, in New York. And then there's me, who's in Los Angeles over here. So that's 3 of us that are just really, really good friends. We love each other. We look very similar. We have a blend that when we sing together, it sounds like our voices all knew each other before we met each other. And so we have three different. We met at Song Leader Boot Camp. We met at Neshama's wedding, Neshama Karlbach's wedding. The three of us, Lori and I met beforehand at some Cantor's assembly. So the three of us, we just sat and read through a song that I was obsessed with, that I think you and I sang beforehand. I was obsessed with Elizabeth Swato's piece that we did from that concert, and it was the Price of a Woman. And that was the opening song. I was obsessed with the song. Exactly. Yeah. So I was obsessed with the song, and I literally pull Rachel and Lori. I was like, I love the song. Can we just listen to it and sing through it? I pull it out. We're in a hallway in the J in St. Louis at Song Leader Boot Camp, and we sang through it. And we loved singing together so much that we got greenlight to do a project, to do a show at Park Avenue. And we spent almost a year writing this entire show at trio music and having new arrangements done, and just seeing what sort of feminine energy would happen in the room when we were rehearsing together. We put a show together in a year, and then COVID hit about a month and a half before we were supposed to debut it. And so right now, Schul Sisters is a cross-country cantorial collaboration. I think it's a collaborative project. Lori Akers, tell me if I said that incorrectly.
She just did hearts.
I see hearts, so that means that I didn't do something wrong. Yay! I know. Yay! Yes, proof.
What is Raymond talking about? Cantor Palooza. We actually did a Cantor Palooza at Wilshire Boulevard Temple. Remember, when we were in school?
Oh, is he talking about my installation concert?
Oh, I don't know. Raymond,
I think that was Cantor Palooza. Oh, I literally called it Cantor Palooza. That's why.
But we had that for when we were in Cantor John Gurney's Shabbat repertoire class. We actually, I think it was called Cantor Palooza.
We did call it that. You're totally right.
Rachel and I sang Chris Hardin's Ahavat Olam, and
which I sang again in this other Cantor Palooza.
Yeah, and that's right. And that was a really lovely evening. I remember we were very excited. It was like we were students, and Dawn was bringing us in to do this concert Shabbat. And
Wilshire, we were really,
yeah, it was really, and we had a big rehearsal with the orchestra, with the mini band. It was awesome. That was a lot of years ago. Whoa, he is talking about your installation.
I mean, that was a lot of cantors for a non-conference concert.
Yes, it was.
There were 18 of us. There were 18 of us in one room.
Almost as many as mine. No.
No, I just remember walking on stage, and we all have our music on our iPads. And so I walk on stage, and my iPad is on the music stand, and I turn my iPad on, and I have a text message from, I don't even remember who the text message from, but it was a selfie of all of the cantors on stage from 2 minutes before then. And I walk and I see this selfie of everybody singing behind me on my music, and I could not stay composed. I just started laughing.
It was awesome.
And I had to show the entire audience. It was like, just so you know, this is what popped up on my, I was not going to hide it from anybody. If I had to laugh in the middle of my own concert, I was going to say why.
Okay. So, all right. We've talked all of this. We'll continue to work together, but because this is Think About It Thursdays, just for those of you who haven't watched, started this almost a year ago, really when the news nonstop was only about COVID. And I actually wanted it to be Thursday mornings at 10, which I have to say at that point, really nobody was doing anything. It was like we had this vision that people were going to be locked in their house with nothing to do, right? Every temple was like, we've got to entertain everybody for every moment of the day. And so I wanted to do something that took people's minds off of COVID. And so I do what I love to do best, which is jokes and making people laugh. And so part of that was finding the weirdest facts in the world that I could. So when Rachel and I talked, we were like, what kind of weird facts should we come up with? Rachel's engaged. She's getting married at some point. Who knows, because of this pandemic.
3, 2, 1. I have a date.
3, 2, 1. You have a date? 3.
That is my date. My date is 3, 2,
Oh my
1,
God, 3, 2,
1.
1. There you go. Mazel tov. 3, 2, 1, 2, 1. Yeah. Okay. So I did find some funny facts as we close out this wonderful Think About It Thursdays that I'm going to share with you. So I think this is my favorite one. I might have to do this. Before the 1500s, couples in Europe were free to
marry themselves. Why did I not know that this was an option?
Oh my God, they could marry themselves. It says it wasn't until 1564 when the Council of Trent declared marriage was a sacrament that weddings became the province of priests and churches. Oh, I don't think it's marry themselves. I think it's like
you could legally marry yourself. I think that's what they're saying. Like,
no, like a couple. I thought it was like a single person was marrying themselves.
I did too. I was like, why couldn't this would have been really helpful in that creative life cycles class that we took. That would have been really great.
Self-marriage. But I think it was actually that, like, you know, the couple could say we're getting married and marry themselves. I don't know. That's where the grammar gets a little weird. But
they didn't have to seek permission from somebody else to get. That makes sense. They didn't need an officiant. That's what it means.
Yeah, we're like they can marry themselves.
So basically, what you're saying is we were irrelevant before the 1500s on a legal basis.
Pretty much. At least in Europe. Okay. A lot of us know this, but rain on your wedding day is actually considered good luck. According to the Hindu tradition, that bodes well for weddings in the Northeast.
And that equals a much higher wedding budget for a rain plan.
Math. Interesting marriage learning. Yeah. Self-marriage. Okay.
Self-marriage.
All right. Queen Victoria started the white wedding dress trend in 1840. Before then, brides simply wore their best dress.
I'm okay with, like, she started a trend to buy a new dress. Like, anybody who knows me knows that I am okay with that tradition.
Absolutely. Rachel, why do you wear your wedding ring on your fourth finger?
Because somebody decided that somebody who was not Jewish, because we decided that this is the finger that's closest to your heart. Somebody else said that this is the finger that's closest to the heart. I still don't know which is true. Like, this is Jews say this and everybody else says this. So it's like,
it was one
I'm not a doctor, and this is why.
Finger led directly to the heart on the fourth finger. Anyways, I think it's probably just because that's the most comfortable finger to wear a ring. That's going to be what I go for.
That makes more sense
to
me.
Here goes the ones I haven't read yet. So we never know what's going to come out of this. The tradition of a wedding cake comes from ancient Rome, where a loaf of bread was broken over a bride's head to ensure fertility.
Oh, no. Like, that's not going to fly. No. Breadcrumbs.
Oh, my God.
Breadcrumbs,
Okay, next fact. Traditionally, the bride stands to, an old wives' tale dictates that if the younger of two sisters marries first, the older sister must dance barefoot at the wedding or risk landing a hubby.
I have a married brother, so that doesn't really apply to me.
Here we go. Flower girls traditionally threw flower petals in the bride's path to lead her to a sweet and plentiful future. That's sweet.
That's cute. I realized that when you said the fertility one, I heard somewhere that there was a tradition that you throw an egg at the bride for fertility.
Oh, God. That I don't think that's a good one. Okay. The new research from One for All gift card shows the average wedding guest spends in excess of, I think this is 400 pounds. I don't know what that is in dollars. With the wedding gift, the day itself, hotels, and hen or stage.
That's a British thing. A hen party is like a bachelorette party.
All the amounting to a small fortune. Wow. Okay. Queen Elizabeth had 12 cakes.
Ooh.
And a 2006 study found that altruism leads to marital bliss. Participants were asked whether they agreed to the following statements. I'd rather suffer myself than the one I love suffer. And I'm willing to sacrifice my own wishes to let the one I love achieve his or hers. The study found that 67% of the more altruistic participants rated their own marriages as very happy, while only 50% of the less altruistic were happy in their marriages. Best get those dishes washed.
I know. I mean, it's like after COVID, it's like the key to happy marriage is like you're kind of ambivalent about what you want for dinner every single night. Like that's a real good thing to be successful in marriage, I think, is just be ambivalent about dinner every single night. You have to have your shows. You got to have your shows. Like every good, healthy marriage or relationship needs to have their shows. That's it. That's really it. Like you have to make sure that you have like a separate workspace.
I'll do 2 last trivia before we say bye because we're starting to lose people. What is the ideal number of songs on a playlist for a 3-hour party? Anybody want to take some guess?
14 times 3. What's 14 times 3?
That would be 42, I believe.
Is it close to that?
It might be. Any other guesses? The perfect amount of songs, as said by livingnorth.com, wedding facts. The ideal number of songs for a playlist for a 3-hour party. 20, that would only be 7 songs an hour, but a song is on average 3.5 minutes, so that wouldn't really take us to an hour. The answer is 52.
And what did I say?
You said 42.
Okay.
So they're going closer to 16 to 17 songs an hour. Because remember, no one's talking in between.
Yeah.
So if I do my calculations, then 17 times like a 3.5 minute song is 59.5 minutes. There you go. So they're planning on like 16, 17 songs. Anyways, 52 songs. And what is the average head count at a wedding?
Oh my God. Before or after COVID?
Before COVID. Let's see. When's this article from? The answer is 189.
I was going to say 172. It was a totally arbitrary number.
Yeah, 189. And then last but not least, oh wait, actually there's 2 things. These are funny that they even have these. 1,030 is the number of flowers required to decorate the average church, including 10 pew ends, 2 main displays on an archway of the front of the church. And last but not least, the average number of calories consumed by 120 guests during a typical wedding, according to the British Dietetic Association. Across everybody there.
Okay, so you're 189 people eating how many calories? I don't count calories. I literally am like, Lizzie, you know me more than anyone would know this. Like I will go to a class and eat 14,000 things.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about that. So I'll tell you that the way they're doing it is they said 256,920 calories, but that it's actually 2,141 calories per person at a wedding. That must be including alcohol.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's like the most calorie rich thing at like a claim jumper or something is probably that.
At a claim jumper. All right, everybody, let's just say thank you to Cantor Rachel Goldman. I hope you got to know her a little bit better, even though it feels like everybody knew her. But stay tuned. I know I have actually Cantor Magda Fishman is coming on in 2 weeks. I believe on the 18th. That'll probably be our next one. If you don't see an announcement for Think About Thursdays next week, it's because we're going to save it till the week after. Keep you on pins and needles. But thank you, Matthew. It was so much fun. So remember to keep thinking about it Thursdays.